Welcome back to a part 2 session of our mind and market follow-up on the nature or nurture question. Are successful traders born or can they be trained? Usually I just do a one session standalone on this subject as part of a multiple series. But given that we had some great engagement, interaction last week, I wanted to kind of maybe build on some of the key insights that we shared then. Also, very important that I encourage you to share with each other, not just in this session, but on the Slack platform, because I'm really keen to develop ongoing work that can impact all of you as traders. So I want to make sure that this stuff isn't lost in the ether, as it sometimes can be. Particularly, as we're rushing from one week to the next. I know you guys are jammed with life and trading responsibilities, especially on the trading side. You've got a whole bunch of education experience that we do with you throughout the week. So it's really important that whether it's the market strategy work that you do with the team, Gavin, Desmond, and Adam, or whether it's the mind and market work you do with me, as much as you can, in the heat of the moment, seize that opportunity to get down on paper and clarify in your mind what are the key insights and what are the action steps that you want to commit to as soon as you can create that time to go through the process. I'd like to take some insights from those of you that were here last week, and I'm going to revert to the Slack chat. Now, if I could work on who's here today. So I believe, so Cosmin, you're here today. Tudor, you're here today, and Jan. So you guys were here with me in the previous session. So if I could bring you all in. Jan, if we can start with you. Fear of success in trading, authored from the parents. What key insights can you share with us about that realization, and what has changed since last week?
Yes, so since last week, I tried to change some routines, especially when I'm on trading, and so I decided to write down all my emotions.
Okay, wonderful.
To track what I feel when I'm trading, if I'm on fear mode or greedy mode, or I'm anger or stuff like that. So it's very interesting to track those feelings, because you can ease yourself in some way, and I noticed some change on my results. Just I had one day very, very bad, but I got back all my losses since yesterday. So quite interesting to track those feelings, and that's what I've done recently.
Wonderful. Welcome, yes. Jan, to actually maximizing the impact of this work, which is impactful, but only when we actually take that decision to create that feedback into your trading journey, and then ultimately your portfolio performance. One quick thing I would say about how to track the emotional cycle of trading. There's a whole range of different ways, and I'm always studying the different methods of doing this as part of my approach, but also as part of the ongoing evolution of the industry in this space. What I would say is, in my experience, is a combination of quantitative and qualitative methods. And so the shortcut is usually the quantitative method, where you scorecard your emotional state from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. In a way, it's what I do as your performance coach when I pulse check with you from month to month and ask, what stage are you in your progression? So you can play around with that. It's especially good if you are using a spreadsheet or a trade plotter, and you need to kind of automate and optimize this process. Then the quantitative approach is fairly streamlined and lower maintenance. But in isolation, you're staring at numbers, and numbers miss out the context of the trade psychology story behind your peaks and troughs in both life and in trading. So it's really important that you add space for open dialogue with yourself. And that's why I'm a big believer in kind of the journal approach. What I mean by that is, I'm not saying write in a journal at the end of every trade. That would be crazy, especially if you're a high frequency trader. Makes no sense. And that would be counterproductive, because you'd spend more of your time in the work of documentation as opposed to actually taking anything meaningful from it. What I mean by that is, at the very least, once a week, and this has been published in research and in trade psychology books, where the art of having reflection time once a week, and certainly once a month, and then each quarter, 4 times a year, you need to pulse check with yourself. So in these sessions from month to month, I will pulse check with you as your performance coach. But then when I go offline, you need to continue with the online work with yourself. So Jan, do you get where I'm going with that, in terms of additional ways that you can integrate this within your process?
Yes, I think every weekend I have to check back all my trades and all my feelings, and maybe I have to, I don't know, to make more sports also, to be to have a balanced life. I think it would put some how do you say, better feeling when I'm trading. Like I have to put down the stress, because you see, sometimes I got into revenge trading, and that's my big problem. I told you already.
Yes.
And I'm working on that, but sometimes it's quite difficult to control those emotions.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I recall you had mentioned revenge trading as one of the behavioral bias pain points. It's very popular amongst traders. I will come back with one method which is worth considering. I'll reply back on the Slack question that you highlighted. So watch out for that at the end of this session. And I'm just thinking, now that we're on the subject of life trading balance, while you're with me live in this kind of case study example, can you revert back to the updated life wheel exercise that we did? I've got your chart up on the screen. Any key and brief insights that you can share generally with the group?
Yes, concerning family, spirituality, health, I think I have good balance in these areas. But concerning fun and friends, it's not so good because of the lockdown, you see. In France, we're gonna be released of that very, very soon. And concerning money, it's about my my new job. So the prop trading, the prop trader, as a prop trader. So at the moment, I'm just focusing on the process and not on the money. So that's why I put 4 about money. But on the other side, I'm just okay. And I'm improving on the area of spirituality, health, especially sports, to have like a balance between trading and my private life. So
what's been the impact of doing this process for you?
what do you mean about
actually mapping out your life, how it balances out in each of these areas, and then ultimately how you can build on those key areas that you want to improve on? What's that process been like for you as a trader?
I think to have having a balanced life, how do you say, I'm working differently as a trader, and I'm focusing more on my on the process than on money. Because if you focus too much on money, you will be how do you say, you're gonna have a cloudy judgment on the job, on this job especially.
Absolutely. And it's I mean, just to give you some feedback, I'm getting a whole lot of clarity from your insight share at the start today. I know I've thrown a few questions at you, so thank you for being patient with me. But I think it's good to kind of dive deep in a live case study with you, especially when we're in flow. And so we spoke about at the very beginning key insights from last session based upon the belief paradigm exercise, i.e. pain point disempowering beliefs that we all have in life and in trading, and then how to reframe that. That was the exercise. And so that the key headline point for you was the fear of success, not the fear of failure. So you shared on that. And then I was just building on what you said about how you were looking to mitigate the revenge trading aspect through different methods, including a little bit of performance sport. And then that brought us to the life wheel exercise, which you kindly completed a few weeks ago. So it's great to bring that all together and to demonstrate an example to everyone else, especially because we have a few new people attending today that weren't here in previous sessions. So I want to make sure that we lead by example and demonstrate the practical strategies and benefits of this work. Thank you, Jan.
With a pleasure.
Great, and congratulations on the reopening. Enjoy that next stage. How about we flip to Cosmin? Cosmin?
Hello, Ron. Here I am.
Okay, welcome, Cosmin. And the importance of combining that with your inner life goals.
Yes. So after 1 week, I'm still standing by what I said, which was more specifically that I don't really have a specific target regarding like a certain amount of money to be made out of trading in a specific amount of time, but more like achieving financial freedom, which is implying for me that I will reach very comfortable mental state, which of course then it would allow me to grow in my trading career, but also as a human being, because yeah, as I shared last week, my thoughts about money for me, they are more of a tool to just keep my mental health in a very, not very, but in a acceptable state of mind, and to like make sure that people around me will not, let's say, have to worry about it. But I've kind of realized that this ambiguity in my, let's say, goal, in my belief, it's that I have to be a bit of more pragmatic though in what I'm wishing and what I'm trying to achieve through trading, because in the end we are working with money and we are earning money. So even though I should not like pressure myself that I don't know, in 6 months you have to do 100K. I think I should practice more in having some specific targets, but in the same time to be as realistic as they can. So I'm not gonna be like disappointed, which could have a bad turnover.
Okay, great. And and I mean, sounds like you a lot, again, similar to Jan, more clear-minded, having done that exercise, which is great. Now, what I'm going to do is do a brief recap on some of the key sections that we covered last week. Okay, so let's do a recap. Okay, so recap: nature and nurture. Okay, so the main purpose in this stage one of the trade psychology learning cycle is asking the question at the starting line, what does it take to be a successful trader? Is it something that we are born with, or is it something that we can be trained to do? The bottom line conclusion is it's likely a mixture of both, with a big onus on the training side, which is clearly why we're all here at Alphachain Academy, to continue that successful journey forward. That experiment of the turtle experiment was famous back in the 1980s by two investor millionaires that basically put it to the test by bringing in professionals without finance experience and teaching them the key to their success. Now, this is a well-known example which I bring to you, A, because it's topical, but B, because of an interview that I actually hosted with one of the leading trade psychologists in the world, Dr. Van Tharp. He's well known to some of you, but also a man that was actually part of the interview process of the turtle experiment. So he actually was very close to what happened at that time. And in his own words, based upon the interview that we did together, he believed, devil's advocate response, that it was a failed experiment because the actual process led to a rejection of more than 90% traders, and only from the remainder of the turtles, there was a result dispersion, which basically led to a huge difference in those that succeeded and those that didn't, which in his mind is why it didn't work. Now, the big X factor question that I asked Dr. Tharp is why? Why do you think the experiment failed, and why is it that not everyone can be a great trader? It's not why, why is it difficult to trade? No, why is not everyone positioned for being a great trader? We're talking about great trading and successful trading. And the main punchline for him was people are not willing to change who they believe themselves to be. That was the big insight. We had this discussion last week. I'm gonna maybe build on new people here that that can ask that question. Mike, if I can build on your years of experience particularly in the institutional space, what's your perspective on people not willing to change who they believe themselves to be?
You have to change. You got to change. You got to kind of, first off, you got to believe in yourself. That's the most important thing. You got to believe that you have the capability of doing what you want to be doing. You also have to be open to change, because if you're not, you're just going to end up going backwards. You need to adapt to the environment, basically, that you're in. You know, we are a product of our environment, and you know, if you know, one of the big things that I look at is, you know, what'd you fail at today? That's really big to me. If you're not failing, you're not learning, and you know, that's part of the whole process, I guess you could say, of adaptation. And you know, that's kind of my stance on it, I guess you could say.
Thank you. Key buzzwords that you shared there, which I thought were really important. Willingness to change, which is in essence the same word that Dr. Van Tharp shared, but also the adaptation. I think this idea of change leading to change, and it's not just changing us, it's changing to the changing environment. And that's key, right? Because it's markets go up and down, things happen, and we're forced to change. But even under the pressure of being forced to change, not everyone will respond the same way.
Of course.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, right. So just to build on that, and I'll kind of leave it on that cliffhanger point. That's in essence the key insight here. Now, what I found interesting in that conversation as it extended was this idea of the most important trade in the market is actually not the market trade, it's the identity trade. It's you trading with yourself for the first time as a trader. So it's almost like leaving behind that old identity and transforming it into that new person that you end up inevitably becoming as a successful trader. And you speak to any trader that has been through the roller coaster ride of trading, whatever that might mean. Maybe it's the time of years that they've been trading. Maybe it's the experience in terms of what they've been trading or where they've been trading. Maybe it's the peaks and troughs in terms of their P&L curve. Maybe it's just the sheer determination and challenges that they've had to on the trading journey, whatever it might be. Listen to their story, as I'm sure many of you will have, whether you're starting or whether you're seasoned. Mike is a seasoned institutional investor or has that background. And so I'm sure, Mike, you'll be speaking both in terms of your experience, but also the experience of people that you worked with on that trading journey, and that will provide a lot of interesting insights. So the idea here is trading our identity, and that being the psychology trade over and above the market trade, which is obviously part of the same thing. Now, the idea here is if we're talking about the psychology trade versus the market trade, we're back to what is often referred to as the 80-20 rule. So 80% of your success is not how amazing the trade strategy is. There's quite a few amazing trade strategies or good straight trade strategies with a reasonable track record, but give that strategy to umpteen different traders and you're going to get umpteen different results. And that's the bottom line. I always joke with traders, you can be driving the best sports car in the world and still crash it. It's a simple way of doing it. And I always like to kind of share kind of like a age-old story about a former client I used to coach who was a fearless trader, very confident, would happily sit on a high leverage trade overnight to his detriment. And that was part of the reason why he engaged with me on the coaching side. And no surprise, he was living up a great, was and is living up a great life with a sports car. And guess what? In that sports car, he would, traditionally speed up and get a ticket. So that risk lifestyle is one that he lived both in markets and in general. And that was the identity that he had to optimize in order to be a better trader. So it was actually the opposite, not needing to big himself up as a trader and to kind of be a more successful, confident trader. No, he actually had to tone it down and not bet the house on every trade, and not have the fear of losing money. He was fearless in terms of his confidence and in terms of risk appetite. So you do get opposite extremes and not just the traditional norms. Now, I do have a question just coming in. Raised hand, please check in and share your question. I think it was Cosmin, you had a question?
Yeah, it was not actually a question, was something to add regarding why not everybody can be a successful trader. And I think that can be also because when it comes to trading, people don't actually have patience with the whole journey, because from the outside, it just looks like, oh, okay, you're just charting some charts and boom, you make money, you get instant feedback, like financial wise. And then when you realize that like psychology is involved in it, healthy habits and routines is involved in it, being okay in all the areas in your life is okay, which compared, I don't know, to a 9-to-5 job where most of the people are going pretty much as robots, you can't do that in trading. You have to take account of all the areas in your life in order to be able to trade. So the journey is, and the challenge itself to get to the point when you are successful, it's much longer than in most of the, I don't know, basic areas that we have in today's society. So I think the lack of patience when it comes to go through all the journey, and yeah, maybe not the purest intentions that people have. So they firstly think about the money, not about doing it because it just like makes their life complete, such as I feel it in my case. I think that could be like a big reason, because I've seen people around me doing this, and I know that kind of my biggest challenges in my journey were the patience and the fact that I had to always remind myself why I even started it.
Great last point, Cosmin, that you shared there. I mean, you started off with hitting a really important point about patience. I think patience is two parts. It's a generational thing, sorry to say, for the younger folks. I'm not that old, but I'm getting older. The more younger people I teach, I feel that gap. And I feel that gap because quick disclosure, I started out in a very difficult way in the career. Nothing was handed to me and I had to kind of really earn my stripes early on. My first gig was without salary. It was a work experience job, and I'm happy to share that story later on during the social engagement. So I'm from that school of hard knocks type of experience. And the same is true from the trading point of view. My first trade was actually an easy trade where I made money. Thought that I was very smart by having that winning trade. Guess what? Second trade was a big loss. And I realized that it wasn't so simple. So that is how it is. So it's partly generational, I think, looking at the newer cohort and their expectations. I think it's also part of the nature of the beast. We are in a bottom line driven money game, and people want to see money gains. And so the really important point that Cosmin, you said several times is this idea, and I think Jan mentioned it in terms of how he's measuring himself, of progress-led goals and not only performance-driven mandates, which the whole industry is governed by. And I'm not telling you to car park that. Clearly, I want you all to be successful, both in terms of your trading journey and in terms of the money you make. That is the bottom line. Let's say, I don't say it's the bottom line goal, but it's one of the key goals that all of us, I'm sure, share. But you need to be measuring different parts of your progress, which shouldn't just exclusively be the money side, because it will take time to make the money. And then the only last thing I'd like to do is circle back to wonderful insights that Mike shared on Slack, which I think he had borrowed from Elon Musk. So I spoke about the 10,000 hour rule, and most people roll their eyes and think, shit, 10,000 hours? that's a long time. And if you work it out, it's you know, on an average human being with an average schedule, which is still a hard-working schedule, it equates to about 5 years. But as Mike said, Mike, do you want to share it quickly? Your mic's on mute.
Yeah, no, I was muted. I'm just trying to get back to it.
It was a while ago, maybe 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. All right, here we go. There is 10,000 hour rule. There's 24 hours in a day, which equates to 416 2/3 days of learning with no sleep. 8-hour day will take plus or minus 4 years. A 16-hour day takes about 625 days. There's a reason why I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning local time to participate in a 2:30 morning meeting with you guys, and then work until about 8 o'clock at night. I can participate and learn from the overlap of all the major markets worldwide. If I'm going to do something, I give it everything I got, 200%. Why do something that takes 4+ years when it can be done in a year and a half? It's a quote from Elon Musk.
Well, one that you are leading by example, Mike. So power to you, and a big kind of virtual applause from all of us here. I only found out recently that you're actually dialing in from the States. Crazy hours. So when I read your message, it was clear to me, but it was that much more impactful when I actually worked out the time difference and the extra work that you're doing. So well done. We've had some prior students. Rashad's just logging in now, so he's speak of Rashad's one of them.
Yeah, he's an hour behind me.
There we go. Our apologies. So I think that's wonderful, and well done for keeping it real, along with Rashad. Welcome, Rashad, to the group. For actually going the extra mile is what I'm trying to say. So for those of you that are lucky enough to be in the same time zone as our daily schedule, great, but the rest of the world isn't. And so for our American cousins, Mike, Rashad, and others, past, present, and I'm sure future, it's all about how committed and ultimately how resourceful you want to be to make it work. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone burns out. Everyone, has a certain kind of threshold that only each of you will know. But the point is, going the extra mile will always give you the extra result. And so whether you choose to fast track that or just to stay true to that long-term commitment, I leave each of you to decide what that is. Longevity is key. And if you can kind of go through stages of maybe sprinting and marathon running, really it's down to your temperament, down to your lifestyle commitments, and down to how much you want all of the goals within trading.